New Skills Saturday, part of Elmhurst Public Library at Home, the library's online program series. Today, we're going to learn how to paint a sunset in the forest. We're going to start with a gradient background for the sunset. If you are unfamiliar with how to blend these colors and create this kind of gradient, please go back to our earlier video of cloud painting, where Maddie teaches us this technique of blending, and we'll be using the same thing. The colors we'll be using for the background will be a pale yellow. So I have a dark yellow here that I mixed with white to give us this very pale yellow at the bottom. I have a light pink, a pale blue. For the darker blue, I used a bright blue mixed with black to make a navy color. And then at the very top here, we used black. In addition to the background, the colors we'll be using for the trees, the stars, and the ground are white, a dark green, so I took this grass green and mixed it with black to make a forest green, and black. For the brushes today, we're going to be using a medium-sized flat brush. This one is a 1/2 inch. Need a small brush for detailing, and you will need a fan brush for the trees and the grass. Okay, now that we have our background, we're going to move on to the foreground. We're going to put in some trees and some hills. So we're going to take some black paint and we're going to draw in some hills here at the bottom, get just our basic outline of what we want to do. So we want to cover up part of the yellow so that we can overlap it, but we don't want to go too far into it. We want to leave the main part of this middle open so we can see that nice sunset gradient. I'm just going to loosely draw in some hills here. You don't have to do it in any specific pattern, whatever feels right to you. And then I'm going to fill in the bottom of the canvas with black. So I'll start out with my smaller brush, even it out here a little bit. Next, we are going to take one of our flat brushes or a much thinner round brush, and we're going to use black again. And we're just going to draw some vertical lines, some taller ones towards the edge of our canvas. They do not need to be straight, but we want to get them pretty close. Going straight up and down. And these are going to be trees, so as many as you want to add, go ahead and fill them in across your canvas. The smaller trees, you want to have thinner trunks, so you might want to switch to a smaller brush if you started with the larger one. Alright, sticking with the black paint, we're going to switch to a fan brush. Get some paint on there. And what we're going to do, instead of going across the canvas, we're going to kind of dab it on our trees here. I'm going to dab, kind of bring a little bit across. These are going to be pine trees, so we want the bottoms to be wider than the top. So as you get closer to the top, do it a little bit more sporadically and a little bit lighter so that they don't spread as far, or you can go in and add some more to the bottom. To get this needle effect, you're going to want your brush spread out a little bit more, which means you're going to want a little bit less paint on there, because as you can see, you get more full coverage where you have more paint. And using that same technique with the fan brush, we're going to put just a little bit of color into these trees using some dark green. And again, my green is pretty bright, so I'm going to darken it up with just a teensy bit of black. Alright, so now I've got a nice forest green. Grab just a teensy bit of that, and you're going to go over some of the same areas much more lightly. Just kind of, if you want to aim for the tops of each of those branches, that's good. Otherwise, just tap that on there pretty lightly. We don't want a whole lot, just getting some color in there. I'm going to darken up that green just a tiny bit more. And again, with your fan brush, just have a little bit on there. Just put in some light streaks on the ground here. You can use your fan brush wide or thin, a good mix of both is great. We don't want very much paint down here, just a little. Just giving it a little bit of texture here. Look like some grass. And just a little bit more color than the black because it's not going to be totally silhouetted in front of the sun. like you have too much in there or you don't like where one of them goes, you can always cover it up with black very easily. In fact, I've got one down here and you can see just a little bit too much of the brush shape, so I'm just going to dab some black on my brush and do the same thing. Just go over everything. Break it up a little bit. And you can kind of mix those colors together as well. Okay, now this very last step is going to get a bit messy. So I've put my easel down flat and I've put lots of newspaper underneath it so that the splatter of this paint won't go nearly as far and it will protect my furniture. So you want to take one of your smaller brushes. An old toothbrush also works really well for this. Older brushes are better for this. We're going to take some white paint, just a tiny bit, just kind of dab it on there, maybe even wipe off some. And we're going to bring our thumb across the top of the tips here, moving the bristles. And you're going to do this over just the very, very top of your canvas where it is black. So, just going to do a light spray of stars. The closer you get to the canvas, the more stars you can get in one place. You don't want to do it too hard because then you'll get a streak across your art. And we're going to go in with a very fine tip, small brush, and we're just going to tap in a few larger stars. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning how to paint brush trees and how to do a silhouette over a sunset with stars. We'd love to see what you create with this video or our other painting videos. Please tag us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Ask Elmhurst. Have a great day and happy painting.